Hey guys, how's it going? It's Etanyos here. Welcome to episode number 4 of this Hockey Legacy Manager 25 San Jose Sharks career mode here on my channel. Bear with me guys because I am actually doing a voiceover on this because I recorded this already live and forgot to turn on my audio. So last episode we obviously won the Gavin McKenna sweepstakes. It went very well, and as you can see by the lottery results here, we moved up by one spot, and yeah, it went pretty well. So we also have pick number 28 here, but as we continue on, we do have to get to the comments. So let me just pull those up real quick. Okay, so I left you guys with the question of, should we put a trade package together that is either a blockbuster involving Askarov or Daigle, where we could go and potentially snag the second overall pick in the draft to get a high-end offensive defenseman on the left side, or should we put a different package together that uses Askarov to instead get maybe a top right-handed D like Zane Parekh from the Calgary Flames or somebody else like that, and then we'd acquire some other draft-eligible defensemen in the video by making additional trades and using our other picks. And the main comment that really, stood out here was from the Real Divinity again, saying, quite unfortunate that the value of those players I suggested to be traded although Benning is still an option. Another first overall pick is the best luck the team has been gifted by the hockey gods. Drafting Gavin McKenna is the best choice out of the top two players. A trade package involving Askarov plus picks and prospects could snag you the second overall pick if the Blue Jackets are still in the market for a high-end goaltender. Zane Parekh is another fitting player who could drastically change the outcome of the team next season if that trade happens for him. I see a future lineup or future potential lineup of McKenna, Celebrini, Kakko, and I would probably put Smith on that top line instead of Kakko. And then William Eklund, Michael Misa, and Victor Eklund, so the Eklund brothers centered by Misa. And then Chernyshov, Bordelev, and Gushchin, as well as Musty, Delandria, and Christensen. He said the defense core might vary due to the trades. Altogether, this team is going to be in for a lot more wins and a contending spot. Let's go, Sharks. So, awesome comment there from Real Divinity. Honestly, that's just hits every single point that I wanted to talk about from the comments today. So, fabulous comment there again. But, yeah, as far as that comment goes, I think, honestly, yes, we could make a trade for the second overall pick. Is it realistic that one team ends up with pick 1 and pick 2? I don't believe that has ever actually happened in NHL history unless it was way back in the 40s, 50s, or 60s, somewhere in there when the draft lottery wasn't even a thing yet. But, overall with how the lineup's shaping up, we do need that right-handed D-man. That's kind of the one thing we need, but let's go to the draft now and see really what we're able to do here. So, all right, so we'll begin the draft here, and as we get to it, it's got to be Gavin McKenna for the first overall pick. It's not really even that much of a debate, but let's check out what pick trades are available for the number 2 overall pick. So obviously, Will Smith could be a trade, but I don't think we're going to do that. Instead, we'll look to explore what will be obviously Yaroslav Askarov. And while that trade might go through, I don't think I want to make it. Again, it's not as realistic. So instead, I did also actually, as I was looking through here, guys, I did notice there was another player that we'll take a look at in a second, but as we just continue on here, we'll click through all the trades, and as you can see there, the Zane Parekh trade, that one is obviously a great deal, but yeah, that's really the main one that we're going to go with here. So all the rest of these trade offers were good, but none of them were as good as that one Askarov deal, and then we only have 2 offers for Daigle, so that's probably not going to be the case as to what happens. So the player I was talking about for actually looking at another guy that could be a big factor is this guy right here, Kari Toivonen. I noticed is probably going to be 74 overall coming out of the draft. So yeah, that's 76 plus 72 averages out at a 74 overall with his offense and defense ratings. And yes, he could probably fall as far as pick number 18. He's a top 20 player, but honestly, I think we probably make a trade for this guy. He's going to be a 74 rated defensive defenseman, even if he's top 4 potential. I mean, even if he's top 6 potential, that's a really solid overall to start with, but it seems like a bit of a more realistic trade. So that's probably one we'll explore here, is trying to get the, like 15th, 16th, even if it's like a little bit higher than that. Yeah, let's see. Because again, I don't feel like acquiring pick 1 and 2 is realistic here at this point. So obviously Rubric is probably going to end up going to Vegas, but again, these teams are all going to use their top picks more often than not. Like, yeah, not Anaheim, Columbus might have a somewhat stockpile of left defense already at this point, but even then, let's look to explore a trade with the Panthers here, which will grab us Toivonen. So we'll do pick 16 and pick 50 as well. See if we can snag another decent prospect with that. And in exchange, we'll go pick 28, and then I'm thinking we're gonna trade, what's his name? The guy we just acquired here, Johnson, or Johnson, however you say his name. I think it's Johnson. Yeah, Oliver Johnson. So yeah, we don't really need another left-wing power forward. We already have quite a few, but that balances the trade out pretty nicely. And does it go through? Yes, it does. Okay, perfect. So that's a start. That'll get us the Toivonen pick that we're looking for, more than likely, unless he somehow just goes way off the board too high. But again, he was moving in negative value. And then, of course, we will go and make the Yaroslav Askarov to the Calgary Flames trade in exchange for, of course, what will be Zane Parik, Samuel Honzek, and a third-round pick in next year's draft. So, yeah, Honzek, not quite an NHL-ready guy necessarily either, but he just immediately replaces Janssen on that left wing as another potential prospect. And then, of course, Zane Parik growing quite nicely in Kansas City this year. We will have to change his number 19, obviously, for Jumbo Joe, because we're going to protect number 19, even though it's not technically retired in this game. But yeah, really good point per game production there from him. And hopefully Parik will continue to grow, or Parekh, sorry, will continue to grow. And there you go. That trade is also completed. So now we're ready to kick off the draft. I really don't think we need to hesitate too much, so let's get to it. And yeah, with the first overall pick in the 2026 NHL Entry Draft, the San Jose Sharks are proud to select from Whitehorse in the Yukon of the Medicine Hat Tigers, Gavin McKenna. Welcome to the team. Yeah, he's 80 overall. It's not too often that you actually see players come out of the draft at 80 overall in Hockey Legacy Manager, so that is an awesome player. Keep an eye on him. He's going to be sick. I'm really excited. So we'll sim over the next couple of picks. So Ronquist, I was really worried that he might end up being a high franchise defenseman. Fortunately, he was not. Ryan Rubric, of course, an absolute elite sniper there. He's going to be very good as well. And Vegas is, well, we're going to have our hands full with him, obviously, but yeah, a really, really solid player there. And then, okay, Vasquez was good, but then this Vinogradov wasn't an elite, which I was kind of surprised about. As we continued on, we finally found out this Bradley guy was indeed an elite. So yeah, I was like, maybe that's the top 5 for elite, but as we simmed over to our next pick here, as you can see, Toivonen is still on the board, so we are going to have the chance to pick him, and really, we're not going to hesitate. We're just going to take him. Big improvements in his draft. We could have taken this Gerald Boudreau guy, but no, instead we will indeed take Kari Toivonen, and he is an elite defenseman. Obviously, I know this at this point. I'm not going to act like my reaction is genuine because it's a second take, but yeah, Toivonen and McKenna as our first 2 picks is absolutely awesome. Really, we get another really good forward, we get an elite left defensive defenseman, and we get an elite right-handed offensive defenseman, all from the trades and moves that we made in this draft. So off to a fabulous start. Technically, we acquired 3 top-end talents there. Yes, we did give up Yaroslav Askarov, and then looking at Boudreau here, he turned out to be a 72 overall and was top 6, so we definitely made the right pick there. And yeah, just really happy with how this draft started out. As we look a little bit further on, there were some other guys with decent potential. Ulf Benda turned out to be a medium top 4 defenseman there. And then, yeah, besides that, I think he was listed to go further off the board. He was the player I was going to try to take with this pick. That's what I had projected, but, that didn't quite happen. So with our next pick, I did struggle to find the player we were looking for. It's Richie at number 59 there. But yeah, it just took me forever to find him here. The other player we were looking at was Bowman there, but LaRose also turned out to be a good defenseman, even though he was only 5'8". There was another McKenna there, but Lyle Wu also turned out to be pretty good for Pittsburgh. So a few different solid picks throughout. But for our next pick, we're going to go all the way down to not Sundin. I think we're going to go... We might still go with a goalie here, but just a different one. So I'm looking at this Daigle guy here. He would actually be really funny to pick up. There's also this K guy too. But I'm thinking the other Daigle here, because, he could be elite. And... if he is, then we'd have 2 Daigles in net. That would just be absolutely hilarious. So, kind of had to go with him, and he turns out to be a medium starter, but 54 overall, not a bad player, but he was only 5'8", so definitely on the tiny side for a goalie. But if he's going to play backup, it probably won't matter that much. So for our top 4 picks, we nail all of them. I'm really happy with them, besides, just the height on Daigle. But besides Daigle, there wasn't really a whole lot else that ended up coming through here. Like Atkinson was a top 4, Andrew K was a medium 6. We probably should have gone for him. But, it is what it is. As we go a little further on, Kuznetsov was an actually really good pick by the Calgary Flames there. And besides that, not a ton else. So, yeah, heading into pick number 130 now. I did want to point this out to you guys that we had been looking at potential or projected overall. And yeah, there's a couple guys later on here, but I think we are going to take Ayers or Ayers. But these guys down here, Bardson and Lindstrom, as well as this Nielsen goalie, we're probably going to make 7th round trades for, simply because, they're just really good. But yeah, we are going to go with Ayers or Ayers for our next pick. He's just down there. So he turns out to be a medium top 6 two-way defenseman. Very solid again, nothing wrong with that pick. But, as you get into the 5th plus rounds, the quality of prospects starts to drop off for sure. So, on to round 6, pick 162 at this point, and this is where we're going to start kind of just going with those next best players. So I'm going to skip Nyman, but we do end up going with the next player that has 82 overall on the board. I skipped Bank just because he's a little too uncertain, but we're going to take this Hackinson guy, Peter Hackinson, for our technically 3rd right D of the draft, technically 2nd drafted right D, but we did also pick up Zane Parekh. So, all right, on to pick 194, and this is where we're actually going to pick up those additional 7th round picks, and this one for Spiridonov just made sense. Again, he's not really developing into anything, and the other players I'd rather not give up in exchange for 7th rounders, so we make that trade. Goes through nice and easily, and then we do also decide to, I meant to hit trade, there we go, but we do also decide to make this trade. It's so nice seeing 2 franchise players together. It just looks very, very nice, but we'll just do a straight 7th round swap here, so trade our 7th rounder next year for this Blues 7th rounder now. And all right, as we line up those picks now, we're going to pick all of those players that I just pointed out. So we're going to go in order here. We're going to start with Magne, I don't know how you say it. I believe it's Norwegian. So Magne Bardson, and then we'll take Linus Lindstrom next. And both of those guys turn out to be top 9 forwards, one medium and one low top 9, so not bad. And then finally we will take Rickard Nielsen. He didn't have great stats, but it doesn't really matter. His projected overall is high, and he's going to be 53 overall, so a medium mid starter there, so not bad. But yeah, that concludes the draft for all the players that we picked up here. And yeah, it's just such a good draft. Like, we have really solidified the core of this team at this point. As long as all of these players develop, then we're set. Like, there's literally just nothing else we really have to do. And, it's cool that we got Zane Parrick because now Michael Misa's got a buddy from Saginaw there. And, yeah, really the quality of these players just looks so good. Will Smith, we're probably looking to turn into the sniper for that top line. He actually scored quite a few goals compared to, what Gavin, McKenna, and Macklin Celebrini have been able to score. So keep an eye out for us changing Will Smith's training. Hanzik, obviously, not necessarily an upgrade, but 73 overall, he might end up being good. So, yeah, we'll send him to user pick, finish off the remaining part of the draft. Remaining, that's not a word. But, yeah, overall, pretty solid draft. We obviously were the team to come out on top. We got the high franchise player. But, yeah, overall, not a ton of players left over. I think Kemp turned out to be okay. But besides that, there just wasn't really a lot else. Stan Spence was a decent player for the Bruins. And, yeah, overall, as you can see by the numbers here, where we're trending down to, it was just kind of a meh, later rounds of the draft. Nobody that was really too crazy. Barrera turned out to be okay. But, yeah, besides that, there wasn't really a whole lot. So, yeah, that was it for the draft. When you see our draft table, though, that as far as which players we picked up, we knocked it out of the park yet again. We just fully built out our team core essentially within the span of 2 drafts. So now it's really just a matter of picking up any of those spare pieces that come our way. Are we going to be planning to finish at the very bottom? I'm going to say no. But as we continue on to the contracts here, there are some pretty big name contracts we need to sign. First being William Eklund, and I want to offer him an 8-year deal. Reason being is he did just have a very solid year. I was looking at maybe potential no-trade clauses, but again, he's going to be 31 by the time this expires. That's still right in the prime of his career. So I didn't feel the need to, really do anything here. We looked at a no-trade clause, and I think it did make the contract a little cheaper. It brought him down to about $8.275 million, which in the moment I sat here and thought, are we overpaying him? And I probably should have just clicked the arrow that's just right up here. I should have clicked that arrow, but I didn't, because it then pulls all their stats over, which is such a great feature. But I didn't know it existed until, about 50, 60 seconds after this. But, we decided to send that offer anyways. And as you can see, 65 points for Eklund was a drastic improvement from last year, which is awesome. We re-signed Delandria. We re-signed Mukhamadullin. We re-signed Henry Thrun. Just get all of these guys locked up and loaded. We do decide to add Mark-Edward Vlasic back for one more year, try to keep him a Shark for his entire career because, San Jose drafted player and guy that made it all the way to the Cup Finals with this Sharks team many, many years ago in 2018, I believe, was the year. I'm going to actually look that up now. I don't know when it was. 2018 Stanley Cup Final. No, it would have been 2016 then. When they lost to the Penguins. So obviously, Sidney Crosby's Penguins were absolutely loaded, but as we continue on with the contracts here, a few more players to add on. We're really just building out the depth. And then we get to the Mario Ferraro contract, and this one was the trickier one, just because I sat for a while trying to figure out exactly what to do. I was really debating on, maybe giving him a shorter term contract as an already 27-year-old defenseman. But he was asking for a 7-year deal, which would bring him until the age of 34. But yeah, this was just a trickier player to negotiate with, simply because of where he's already at in his career versus where the team is at. Where the team is, we're still, how many years out are we? We've probably got to be a good 4 or 5 years out from really being a proper cup contender. And his prime doesn't really line up with that, unfortunately. So that's why I took so long debating this before, we finally get to the decision here. So What we did end up going with was, I believe, a like 9.5 is just too much money for Ferraro. At the same time, we still have $35 million that we're playing with. Yes, is a lot of that going to get allocated out to guys like Will Smith and Macklin, Celebrini, and Gavin, McKenna, and those players? Yeah, absolutely it is. But Mario Ferraro at 9 points, I think it's $9.5 million for 7 years, is a steep cost for sure. But also, he is a very good defenseman. And, with the modified no trade clause, there's only 5 teams that we can't trade him to, which is nice. But yeah, we do decide to send this offer. He's just that type of defenseman that you can't really lose because he's just that good. And then I think that was pretty much it. We offered Ben Gaudreau a contract. I did decide to sign Gavin McKenna here, even though his stats did decrease from one year to the next. Same thing with Michael Misa. He didn't really grow a lot, which was kind of disappointing for me. Sam Dickinson and, Toivonen and those guys, we did obviously offer Gavin McKenna the contract because he's the best prospect there. But Cameron Lund doesn't accept, reason being he wanted more money, I believe was the case, which, again, we couldn't offer more than $1.085 million. So we just kind of skipped through that. He obviously scored a ton of points there, as you can see, 113 points. That's why he wanted more money. So he unfortunately does end up going to free agency here. But that's not the end of the story for Cameron Lund and the San Jose Sharks. As you can see, Victor Eklund put on a masterclass, scoring 91 points in 56 games over in the DEL there in his draft plus 1 year, so that was really something. Ethan Caldwell offers Mario Caldwell, named after probably, Godfather Mario Ferraro or something like that. But as we advance a little further, obviously there's all the expiring players. And as we get to free agency, there just wasn't really a ton of players that I felt the need to pursue. Like, we don't need an Eichel, we don't need a Karlsson, we don't need an Ovechkin. So it really just came down more to a couple other players. Like, we do need a goalie. As far as the goaltending goes, that's really just where, a guy like probably Bobrovsky or, maybe Tarasov ends up in here. But those are the players we were going to look to pursue. And maybe stealing a prospect like Joshua Waugh would be fun. Do we need to? No, absolutely not. We're already pretty loaded on our core for this team. So after sorting by potential there, you can see there's a few other guys like Lacombe maybe who could be decent, but again, I don't really feel the need to load up on these prospects and other players because we're going to still be bad for a couple of years, and we'll probably still manage to snag a few more pieces and picks. Dalibor Dvorsky was there. The other Jack Hughes is there. And then you could see Duda, Casey Lund, and a bunch of other players. But yeah, as we actually get to free agency, now that I've taken a good solid look over the majority of it, we'll get rolling here. Just give me a second, because I was trying to decide on did we want any of these other prospects or not. And long story short, no. We didn't really want a lot of those other prospects. We only really wanted to bring Cam Lund back. All right, so right here is where we finally start free agency. And this is where, we're just going to go in, offer Bobrovsky a contract, offer Cam Lund a contract, a couple other guys like that. But yeah, we really just we thought about paying Bob just a ton of money for the next year or two. And really, we probably should have paid him a little bit more than that, but it's okay. And then Cam Lund, obviously, is probably the only player that we offered a contract to. Right there, I was like, oh, hey, stats just slide over like that. That's kind of fun. We should really pay more attention to that. But yeah, as we sim to the next round, you can see Bob goes to Seattle there, out of all teams. So I was sitting there looking at it like, why? Why would you go to Seattle? But, Seattle's obviously a better team. So I think we just ended up going with a Peter Mrazek here instead, and offered him a 1 year just stupid money deal of $7.5 million. Yeah. And without question, obviously, as we go to the next round there, Mrazek obviously signs that. It's a 1-year money contract. And then Cam Lund did end up signing that contract as well. We looked at Philip Zadina and what he would cost us if we offered him a contract, and it was a second-round pick, so decided that wasn't really worth it for a player that has already taken a swing and missed with San Jose. So, yeah, that was, we got $7.6 million remaining. Don't really feel the need to sign a whole lot of other players. And, yeah, you can see how those picks kind of played out. I like that they're showing the prospects now on each pick. Very good little additive to the game that adds to the detail for being able to view how things play out. Obviously, that Calgary pick, we don't know yet, but obviously we're hoping Honzik and Parrott can both become full-time NHLers. This trade with the Florida Panthers looks amazing for us for who we gave up versus who we got back. We just fleeced the Panthers, simple as that. We got Toivonen and Ritchie. We may have built out our entire defending side of our defensive core with one trade there. So we'll see how it plays out heading into the next season. But that is where we're going to wrap up free agency. And then we'll head into the lineup and send to the Hall of Fame first, obviously. Well, we did get a trade there, or a trade offer from St. Louis. Wasn't really worth it, but obviously you know how the Hall of Fame nominees are going to go. We always pretty much have to nominate a Shark, at least one of the better Sharks that show up, whether that be, Patrick Marleau, who we of course had to nominate, but I believe it's his second year eligibility, same as most of these guys, which is fine, but there was a few other guys where I was like, oh, we should definitely nominate, like Dapos and who else? I think Bernie Nichols was Bernie? No, Rob Brindamore was another, and then I think we finished off with Cujo. Yeah, Cujo just had the most wins out of any of the goalies there. So those were our picks. I was like, okay, just get Marleau in, and of course Marleau is the only player that didn't end up in, which is really funny. But yeah, Vincent Dampos even ended up in there. So I get the feeling Marleau will probably be in there next year, but yeah, we'll sim to the next season and see how the lineup just kind of plays out here. So there's the end screen for the season. Obviously, the Oilers won the Cup. Nick Ehlers went absolute Super Saiyan for 1.5 points per game. McDavid actually scored 100 points and ended up in the top 10 in the league in scoring, which is crazy because that seems too accurate for that to be real. But yeah, here's the player development chart. And this year we are going to see not a ton of growth from a lot of players. Zane Parik really didn't shoot up, unfortunately. I was kind of upset with that. But then we see this where Gavin McKenna just manages to grow 8 overall ratings, which is insane. And we are focusing on his defense to try and round him out to be the best potential player he can be. A bunch of other guys grew by like 1, 2, or 3 ratings. Toivonen ended up at I believe 78 overall. I think he grew 4 ratings. I might be wrong. But yeah, a couple other guys grew quite nicely there. Toivonen ended up, we can't even see him anymore. But yeah, I was pretty happy with the growth. It wasn't anything super insane, but it's better than nothing. So yeah, that Gavin McKenna growth is just insane. Puts him on the top line. And really, yeah, we just need a sniper on that top line. So it's probably going to end up being Will Smith once we get his training set up properly. But yeah, having 2 franchise players and a high elite player on one line should be a recipe for success. And yeah, I think he's already tied for the best player on our team. Gavin McKenna is. But yeah, Will Smith was the player that I decided was like, okay, let's make him the shooting player because he just simply scored more goals. I think he had 29 goals last season, so that really just made sense to me. Yeah, 29 goals right there. So he's the guy that we decided, okay, he should be getting the puck to shoot the puck. Rather than these other 2 guys they can still shoot, but they should be making plays more so. And as you can see there, we don't have any control of this because I had this set on. I think I had the setting messed up, but yeah, we never ended up actually getting William Eklund to become a sniper like we were trying to. I think it was because I turned on auto scouting, or auto training, which was just a mistake really on my part. Just me getting a little bit lazy at the wrong time. And yeah, that was just, something we had to be a little more attentive to. But looking at the defense here in this lineup, well, really just the bottom six actually more so. I think I just ended up splitting up Bordelot and Weisblatt because they're both very similar styles of player. So yeah, I think once we did that, there wasn't really a lot else we had to do. And yeah, I think that is the group that we ended up going with. I was like, yeah, that's good enough. So we ended up locking those guys all in. And then for the defense, obviously we're playing Peric and Ferraro together. Those guys are just simply the guys. And then what else were we looking at here? It's Gabriel Tagle, who just did not grow at all. His health is a concern to me as well, because that is something that I really want to see improve. Like he did decrease a little bit from one season to the next, so we're really hoping he can have a bounce back year here in his draft +2 season, I believe now. But yeah, just not really the place to be there, unfortunately, for Dagnall. So we'll have to keep an eye on him to see if, maybe another goalie pops up that we could snag, potentially. But I was worried that Askarov was going to end up being way better, that he would be like 90 overall or something. But as long as I know he's maintained his 88 overall rating, then I'm not so worried about that trade. But that's always that, little doubt in the back of your mind where you're like, did I make the right trade? I mean, obviously there's a guy like Nurmi or DuPont there, a bunch of different players to consider, but I'm really hoping that, DuPont somehow stays outside the top 1 or 2, because if that's the case, then he would absolutely be a fantastic right D-man to add here, but he is the franchise player, so I doubt that he doesn't go first overall this year. The only other switch we made was we moved Thrun and Mukhamadullin in there and put Chernak on the sidelines, which kind of makes sense with the age and where this team's going and everything else. We need to get the players' experience, obviously, so that is the big thing. Playing the 24 and 25-year-old together rather than the 29-year-old was, that's just the team plan here. So that was pretty much it for the lineup. For the regular lineup, obviously we went and set special teams here too this year, just because we're trying to get a little bit more going for this team. Only 52 faceoffs on Celebrini is not amazing. I really wish you could train faceoffs, but I guess you can't, which is kind of frustrating as well, because faceoffs would be a nice thing to be able to train. How's Will Smith's faceoff? 65, so we probably should be playing Will Smith in the center. Now that I'm looking at it, we should probably pay a little more attention to face-off stats. I really haven't been, if I'm being honest, so that's something we'll look at next video for who plays where, who's getting the center roles versus the winger roles versus whatever else. And yeah, I think as much as I like Celebrini as the two-way forward on that line being at center, it also kind of just doesn't make sense if his face-offs absolutely suck. And yeah, we did apologies, guys. It is like almost 1 a.m. here on this re-record, because I recorded this way earlier in the day, went to work, came back, and went, oh shoot, I can't edit this video because there's no sound on it. So that was a fun moment of realization, and by fun I mean slam your head against the desk level of fun. But I didn't obviously do that. If I had concussed myself, I probably wouldn't be talking straight right now, which, I mean, you can speculate on that. But no, I didn't slam my head into my desk, fortunately. So that was the power play and the penalty kill units that we set up. Peric didn't end up in the kill, which makes sense because his defense isn't all that amazing. 80 overalls, kind of bleh. So yeah, that is our special teams unit, and now all of that is set. And now we just get to move everybody else down, and there's this really awesome little feature where you can go up and over and hit extra players there in the top right corner, and it just sends everybody down that's not locked in your lineup already. So yeah, once Will Smith's done hitting there at the end of September, then we'll obviously go and make a change for, turning him into a sniper, and then of course also looking to probably make a change that sees Macklin Celebrini end up on the wing or something along those lines. We get a trade offer here that, actually looked kind of good. There's this Jan Isaacson guy who's nothing special, but there's a second-round pick in exchange for Jake Wallman. And I was like, yeah, you know what? We could probably do that. LA ends up retaining 50% of his contract, which, sure, great. 3-team trade that we can't really complain about. Am I set on Wallman? No. So we do end up making this trade. It puts Leon Gawanke into the lineup, which is great. And besides that, we got a Jordan Kyrou for essentially just Mackenzie Blackwood trade, and that's one that I was like, not really worth it. I also missed setting a captaincy here, so obviously Mario Ferraro gets the captaincy. And we're looking at Gavin McKenna wearing number 27. If you guys think he should wear either like number 9 or maybe he deserves 72 more than Eklund. I don't think he does. I think there's a seniority factor there, but let me know in the comments below, guys, obviously. So the only other trade we're going to make here the only other jersey number change we're going to make here is Zane Perrick to number 91. We're actually just going to go right into the roster and change that too, simply because Perrick can't be wearing Jumbo Joe's number because technically Jumbo Joe's number is retired. So yeah, we had to make that change. But as soon as we did that, I think that was pretty much it here, because yeah, again, it would be nice if you could add retired players afterwards, but there is a system for that in this game that is already in there, and when you miss updating certain things, then you don't see that. But yeah, kind of just an unspoken rule in San Jose that number 19 will always be Joe Thornton. And of course, the rookie watch here, watch out for Mr. Gavin McKenna there. That is the name to watch this year. There's a good chance that he could potentially win the Calder. LJ Mooney's looking pretty good there too in Columbus, but besides that, yeah, keep an eye on DuPont. He would be lovely to somehow snag not at the first overall pick, but if he does, then there's Kinnunen, Virta, or even like Zayazin, I think was the Russian guy up there that we were keeping an eye on too. So yeah, we'll have our pick at right D essentially, but if it's DuPont, that would be so nice. But we'll have to wait and see where we actually end up, obviously. So yeah, that is pretty much it for this video. So that is where we are going to wrap it up for this one. Our team rating, they look okay, 85, 81, or 85, 85, 81. But overall, not going to be a particularly amazing team yet again this year. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe they'll surprise us by every single means possible. But yeah, overall, I really don't think this team is going to achieve anything this year. We'll have to wait for another couple of seasons, I'm going to say. But yeah, that is pretty much it. If you guys enjoyed this video, then make sure to, go down below, drop a like, subscribe, hit notifications, and of course, feel free to answer that comment that I have left down below in the comment section, because then that will give you a very good chance of getting featured in the next video. But that is it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed. This is Etanyos signing out, and until next time.